So when you say son, son will mean this is how I am going to do it, or this is through whom I am going to do it. The Hebrew word ben. So in Genesis 3:15, stay with me, Genesis 3:15, he says, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. He shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Remember, we came from Genesis chapter 22. How many of you remember? We came from Genesis 22. Take your only son. Only will be unique. Only, unique. Only, the one who will fulfill it. The one who will fulfill it. Listen well, please. Pay attention. Much more attention. So go back to Genesis chapter 4. Where Eve heard the seed of the woman will bruise the head of the serpent. Question. What did Eve hear? Huh? Say it to me very loud. I want you to repeat it so that I'm sure you're following. What did Eve hear? Huh? The seed of the woman shall what? Okay, say it very loud. Let the radio and TV audience hear your voices. What did Eve hear? So she had the seed of the woman. Automatically, she thought she was the woman whose seed will bruise the head of the serpent. The seed of the woman. God spoke it to Eve and Adam in their fallen state. The seed of the woman shall bruise the head of the serpent. Wow. I beg you, stay with me. The seed of the woman. When Eve had the seed of the woman, remember they had two children, Cain and Abel. In Genesis chapter 4 verse 1 and 2, they had Cain and Abel. In their culture, it's your first child, male child, because they had a highly patriarchal system. First child, firstborn son must be a male to take over the inheritance. But in Genesis 1:26 to 28, Moses corrected that. He said, male and female created he them and blessed them, and said, be fruitful. So Moses already corrected that within the context of God's promise and God's plan. That it was not going to be male, it was going to be male and female. That is to sort out that disparity that has come in human culture. So when they had two sons, normally in their culture, the firstborn male child will be the one to inherit the father's property. That was their culture. So what did God do? Let me fast track because of time. It's Abel, not Cain. It's Isaac, not Ishmael. It's Jacob, not Esau. It's Joseph, not Reuben. You didn't follow me. Is Abel, not Cain. Is Isaac, not Ishmael. Is Jacob, not Esau. Is Joseph, not Reuben. Which means even though human beings regard your son as your biological first child, God is saying, no, it is the believer in the gospel that is my son. It is the believer in the gospel that is my son. So that is the entire Genesis principle. That is, it is by grace, not by works. It is by grace, not by merit. Their own culture, firstborn is first male child. That wasn't deliberately reversed by God. But it happens that human works does not qualify for God's blessedness. It is only faith in his promise. So again, Eve makes the assumption, she thinks it is Cain. Okay? She thinks it is Cain that is the seed of the woman that will bruise the head of the serpent. That's what Eve is thinking. She thought that this is the man. Unfortunately, it was the second male child that offered the firstborn sacrifice. That's again figurative. Again what? That means it was Abel who recognized the office of God's servanthood. Please, I need you to listen carefully. Then quickly, Eve found out that Cain killed Abel. Cain killed Abel. Then Eve had another child in Genesis 4:25. Watch what she said. Genesis 4:25. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and called his name Seth. Look at what she said. For God, said she, had appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. Another seed. So Eve believes that she is the woman that will produce the seed that will bruise the head of the serpent. She thought it was Cain. Then Cain killed Abel, and she knew that the seed that will bruise the head of the serpent cannot be a killer. So she left Cain and waited for another child, and when the child came, she gave him a name Seth, saying, this is the guy. This is the seed that will bruise the head of the serpent. These are Eve's assumptions. Why? Because she knew that Cain killing Abel, Cain can't be the seed. Because the seed of the woman is not supposed to be a killer. He is supposed to crush death. The seed of the woman is supposed to put an end to death, not to kill. Because man's failure put him in death. So if God is going to redeem man, ultimately the redemption will be from death. So the seed of the woman will be a terminator of death. All right, so it cannot be Cain. Now she thinks it is Seth. She talks, Eve talks a lot. She's the one who spoke to the serpent. What a wife. Even when the husband is there, her mouth is running like a broken tap. Did God say you shall not eat of the? Yes, God said we shall not eat here and there. She just talks. May God not give you that kind of wife. Even if you have, may she be delivered from mouthology. Be delivered from what? Where did that come from? It came from Pastor Prince. She just talks too much. So when Adam, are you still in the building? I have to check because I was given an eternal clock. Glory to God. So after a while, Eve discovered that Seth is not it. So when they discovered that it is not Seth, they had another one. Adam named him Enos. The meaning of Enos is mortal. This one is mortal. It can't be the one. It has dawned on them now that they are not the ones that will produce the seed of the woman. She called him Enos. Mortal. Death ruled. They know that it was not any of them. Abraham in Genesis 15 said to God, let it be Eliezer. I'm old. Sarah is old. It has ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. You promised us a child. So since we can't produce a child, let Eliezer, our houseboy, B, or let Eliezer's wife produce the seed. And God said, Abraham, I promise to have a seed from you and Sarah. And it is deliberate, it is intentional, that it will not come when two of you are capable of producing. Which foreshadows the resurrection. He said, that's how I'm going to do it. The seed of the woman will come as a miracle. It will not come as efforts or human ability. It will come as a miracle from the dead. So Isaac comes, and then to demonstrate to Isaac again, he goes to Mount Moriah in Genesis 22 verse 2. Please pay attention. He says, take your only son, which means that it's a kind of communication that you must understand. Genesis chapter 4 again. Are you still here? So, where it is not Cain, it's Abel. Abel was killed by Cain. Then Genesis chapter 5 verse 3. Pay attention. Genesis chapter 5 verse number 3. And Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness after his image, and called his name Seth, likeness, his own image. So he called his name Seth after his image, after his likeness, which means what is going on here cannot be Genesis 1:26 to 28. Okay? Because Genesis 1:26 to 28 is in God's image and God's likeness. But now Adam and Eve have discovered that they are now producing after their own image and their own likeness, which automatically rules out that from Adam's family, immediate family, there will be no seed of the woman. Is it getting clear? So which means that every human being is not the image of God. So don't go around telling people, you know, all of us are in the image of God. Are you in Power City? Or are you in a place that looks like Power City? How can you be in Power City and be saying everybody is the image of God? Everybody is not the image of God. Adam had his own image and his own likeness. You are the image and the likeness of your father. From Mbo, Itu, Itumbang, Oyo, Kaduna, Borono, Uruan. You know, a lot of magical things happen in Uruan. I didn't say it's Makebush who told us. So which means the image of God and the likeness of God will not be Eve and Adam and their children. So how then is it going to happen? God calls a man Abraham, and he says, in you shall all nations of the earth be blessed. Then he mentions to Abraham, it's going to come through your seed. Keep that somewhere, we will come back to it. In Genesis chapter 4, we find out that Cain killed Abel. Actually, Satan did. Because in Genesis 3:15, it says, is the seed of the devil. The seed of the devil. Child of the serpent, or a child of disobedience. Jesus will put it like this in John 8:44. Put it up. John chapter 8 verse number 44. Jesus says, you have your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning. Beginning, where did Satan murder? Cain and Abel. He was a murderer from Genesis 4. And abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. Jesus, when he was being accused by the Jews and the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they called him names. Then he told them in verse 40 of John chapter 8, we're going to read from verse 40 to 42. Pay attention to John chapter 8 verse 40. But now you seek to kill me, a man that have told you the truth, which I have heard of God. This did not Abraham. You do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, we be not born of fornication. That's an insult. We have one Father, even God. What they are saying is, we don't know who your father is. Your mother just got pregnant, and nobody knew from where. And your stepfather just covered it up. We know our biological father. We didn't come from fornication. What they are saying is, you're a child of fornication. That's an insult. Okay, watch. Jesus said unto them, if God were your father, you will love me. For I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Can you see how to handle people who criticize and attack you? The more they attack you, just maintain your position. Keep saying what you know to say. They say you are born of fornication. I say, I came from God. If your father was God, he would love me, because that's where I came from. So the fact that you don't love me means you came from a different place, and I came from God. Wherever you came from must be from Satan. I love Jesus. You know, we're preaching the gospel. Let's not be confrontational. What is this? This is not only confrontation. This is insultive confrontation. And this is the master you're supposed to follow. And you're avoiding confrontation. There are people you must confront them and remove the rug from under their leg. They use small to collect big. You understand? If you don't understand, don't worry. If you don't get it. For I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Next verse. Why do you not understand my speech? Even because you cannot hear my word. Next verse. You are of your father the devil. You are of your father who? And the loss of your father you will do, for your father was a murderer from the beginning. So I'm not surprised that you, his children, are looking for how to kill me. The proof that your father was a murderer is that even now, all of you are thinking of how to kill me. That's what Jesus implied. Don't you love Jesus? He was a murderer. The word murderer there is the word anthropoktonos. You can write down Anthropoktonos. Anthropoktonos. It means a man killer. He was a man killer from the beginning. It shows you that death emerged from the devil. In 1 John chapter 3 verse 8, John repeats it. 1 John chapter 3 verse number 8. He that committed sin is of the devil, for the devil sinned from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Now pay attention here. So if he was a man killer, the killer was a man himself, who was Cain. Because the people is referring to here are men. What man is Jesus referring to? In Genesis chapter 4 verse 4, Moses records that Abel offered a firstling. What many of us have read it to mean is that Abel offered suya. Abel gave God suya. Cain brought salad. God said, no, I like suya. I don't like salad. Cain brought vegetable. Abel brought animal with blood. And God said, I love blood. Yeah, I love drinking blood. Oh God. Moses again is writing in figures of speech. The word firstlings. Remember what God called Israel? He called them what? His firstborn. The same Hebrew word for firstling. Firstborn means someone who will take your promises, your service, your ministry, and bring it to pass. That's the meaning of firstborn. Someone who will take your promises, your service, your ministry, and bring it to pass. If you go to Genesis 25:31 to 34, remember the conversation between Jacob and Esau. You know, because many of us think that birthright is property. If birthright was property, how did the father make mistake and gave it to the second son? If it was property, all the father needs to do after the mistake is say, come, I changed my mind, let's change the property. After all, it's a document aside. So the blessing of attention. So Abel believed the promise of God's blessing. He believed the promise of God's service. Abel then offered. Offering the firstling means Abel accepted to preach the gospel. He offered to fulfill God's mandate of being a blessing on the earth. And because of that, Cain hated him. So Cain hated a servant of God. Is that clear? Cain's hatred for Abel is that Abel has now joined the ministry. Abel has now offered himself to be a man of God and preach the gospel. So Cain hated Abel's new assignment. Because Abel offered the firstborn, which signify an offering to accept to be in ministry, to serve the purpose of God.